There is a strange and quiet phenomenon that occurs when life finally becomes calm. Just when the storm passes and the warmth of stability begins to settle in, a sudden, inexplicable urge arises to dismantle it. It is rarely a conscious choice. No one wakes up deciding to destroy a relationship that is working, or to procrastinate on a dream that is finally within reach. Yet for many, happiness feels dangerous. It feels like a waiting room for tragedy. And so, before the other shoe drops, you drop it yourself. This is the silent architecture of self-sabotage. It is not a character flaw, nor is it a sign of brokenness. It is a misguided form of protection, a defense mechanism built by a younger version of you, designed to survive chaos, but completely ill-equipped to survive peace. To stop the cycle, one must first understand why the mind mistakes joy for a threat. Consider the moment when the dust finally settles. The long battle for stability has been won. The debts are paid, the relationship is secure, or the career goal has been achieved. The external world is finally quiet. By all logic, this should be the moment of deep, restorative exhale. It should be the time for celebration, or at least contentment. But for the person who has lived a life defined by survival, this silence does not feel like peace. It feels like a threat. Instead of relief, a low-grade hum of anxiety begins to vibrate beneath the skin. The mind, trained for years to scan the horizon for incoming danger, finds the empty horizon terrifying. It searches for a problem, and when it cannot find one, it begins to manufacture one. This is the cruel paradox of the survivor's mind. Chaos feels safe because it is familiar, while peace feels dangerous because it is unknown. To understand self-sabotage, one must first understand the baseline of the nervous system. If your formative years or significant periods of your life were spent in a state of high alert, walking on eggshells, managing crises, or navigating emotional volatility, your body adapted to that frequency. You became a master of navigating the storm. You learned how to function with high levels of cortisol and adrenaline. You developed a skill set specific to disaster management. In that state, you know exactly who you are. You are the fixer. You are the one who endures. You are the one who holds it together when everything falls apart. There is a strange, perverse comfort in the crisis because the rules of engagement are clear. You know what to do when the house is on fire. But who are you when the house is safe? When the problems vanish, the identity you built around surviving them begins to dissolve. Peace renders your survival skills obsolete. This creates a profound existential unease. The quiet feels heavy, almost suffocating. The lack of conflict feels like a void that needs to be filled. And so, the subconscious mind intervenes. It seeks to return you to your baseline, not because that baseline is pleasant, but because it is predictable. This is why you might pick a fight with a partner after a surprisingly intimate and harmonious weekend. The intimacy felt too vulnerable, too foreign. The conflict, however painful, restores the familiar distance. It puts you back on terrain you know how to navigate. It is why you might procrastinate on a project the moment it starts going well. Success brings visibility, and visibility brings the potential for judgment or attack. Failure, or the chaotic scramble to finish at the last minute, is a known entity. It mimics the urgency you are used to. This behavior is not a conscious desire to suffer. It is a physiological attempt to regulate your internal environment. The body reads the calm as the calm before the storm. It interprets the absence of stress as the prelude to a predator's attack. To the hyper-vigilant mind, letting your guard down is the most dangerous thing you can do. Therefore, the sabotage is actually a preemptive strike. By creating a small, manageable crisis now, a missed deadline, a minor argument, a financial slip-up, You take control of the chaos. You decide when the other shoe drops rather than waiting in agonizing suspense for it to fall on its own. You destroy the peace to escape the anxiety of maintaining it. This is the illusion of safety in chaos. You return to the struggle, not because you love the pain, but because the struggle is the only place where you know how to breathe. We do not enter this world at war with ourselves. A child in their natural state does not fear their own joy. Watch a very young child at play. They occupy their happiness completely. They do not look over their shoulder waiting for it to be snatched away. They do not dim their laughter to avoid drawing attention. They simply are. The instinct to sabotage, to dismantle one's own well-being, is not an inherent defect. It is a learned behavior. It is an architectural structure built brick by brick in response to the environment. To understand why you destroy your own happiness now, you must look at the blueprint from which your emotional house was built. For many, the origin of sabotage lies in the subtle, unspoken lessons of childhood. The mind of a child is a relentless recording device, absorbing not just what is said, but what is felt in the spaces between words. It observes the cause and effect of emotional expression. Consider the child who grows up in a volatile home. In such an environment, the mood of the household is dictated by the most unstable person within it. A moment of laughter or playfulness might be abruptly cut short by a parent's sudden anger or a shift in the atmosphere. The child learns a cruel equation. High spirits are often followed by a crash. If you are too happy, you let your guard down. And if you let your guard down, you will be blindsided. The mind records a new rule. Do not get too excited. It only makes the fall hurt more. Or consider the child who was loved, but only conditionally. Praise was given for achievement, for grades, for being good, but withdrawn during moments of struggle or independence. Here, the lesson is different, but equally damaging. Happiness and love become transactional. They are not states of being. They are wages to be earned. The subconscious learns that success brings pressure to maintain that success. If you win, you must keep winning. The stakes get higher. In this context, sabotage becomes a way to step off the treadmill. By failing or by messing up, the child, now the adult, subconsciously attempts to lower the expectations placed upon them. There are also quieter forms of conditioning. Perhaps you grew up observing a parent who was perpetually martyred, someone who viewed self-sacrifice as the highest form of virtue. If your primary caregiver modeled that love equals suffering, then your own happiness can feel like a betrayal. To be happy when they were so miserable feels like leaving them behind. What triggers a deep, archaic guilt? Sabotage then becomes an act of loyalty. You limit your own joy to stay connected to the lineage of sorrow. This internal protector, the part of you that ruins the moment, is the architect of the defense. It was hired long ago to ensure your survival. It learned that invisibility was safer than visibility. It learned that wanting things led to disappointment. So it was better not to want at all. It learned that if you ruin it yourself, at least you are in control of the wreckage. The tragedy is that the architect is trapped in time. It is still operating on the data from 20 or 30 years ago. It does not realize that the environment has changed. It does not know that you are no longer powerless or dependent on those who could not meet your needs. So when you stand on the precipice of a new relationship that is kind and stable, the architect screams, "Danger!" It pulls the emergency brake, citing the old data. Trust leads to betrayal. When you finally earn the promotion, the architect whispers fraud, citing the old data. Visibility leads to attack. You are not fighting a demon. You are fighting an outdated protection system that loves you fiercely, but ignorantly. It is trying to save the child you used to be by destroying the adult you are trying to become. If we strip away the stories, the memories, and the complex narratives of our past, we are left with the machinery of the body. And the body, above all else, worships consistency. In biology, this is known as homeostasis. It is the biological imperative that keeps your body temperature at 98.6 degrees, your blood sugar stable, and your oxygen levels balanced. If you get too hot, your body sweats to cool you down. If you get too cold, you shiver to generate heat. Your system constantly works to return you to a set baseline. Psychologists have discovered that this same mechanism applies to our emotional lives. We each possess an internal happiness thermostat, a psychological set point that dictates how much love, success, and creativity we allow ourselves to enjoy. This setting was likely determined long ago, calibrated by your family history and your past experiences. For some, the thermostat is set high. They are comfortable with abundance and ease. But for many, especially those who have experienced trauma or chronic stress, the thermostat is set low. The baseline is struggle. The baseline is mild dissatisfaction. The problem arises when you exceed your setting. Imagine your internal thermostat is set to 70 degrees of happiness. Suddenly, something wonderful happens. You receive a windfall of money, or you fall in love with someone who treats you with profound kindness. A higher internal temperature spikes to 90 degrees. Consciously, you are thrilled. You think, "This is what I've always wanted." But subconsciously, your survival system is panic-stricken. The alarms go off. You have entered unknown territory. You are flying too high, too fast. Your system registers this excessive positivity not as a blessing, but as a deviation from the norm. It creates a sensation of vertigo. To the primitive brain, this new height feels unsafe because it is unfamiliar. So, the homeostatic response kicks in. Just as your body sweats to cool you down, your mind initiates a cooling process to bring you back to your familiar zone. This is the mechanics of self-sabotage. You might find yourself suddenly overcome with a wave of unexplained guilt. You might develop a sudden, irrational worry about something unrelated. You might provoke an argument with your partner to break the tension of intimacy. You might even get physically sick right after a major accomplishment. These are not random misfortunes. They are correction maneuvers. They are your system's way of bleeding off the excess positive energy to lower your temperature back to a safe 70 degrees. This explains the baffling phenomenon of the upper limit problem. It explains why lottery winners often lose everything within a few years, returning to their exact previous financial state. It explains why people in healthy relationships suddenly cheat or pull away. They are not necessarily unhappy, they are simply overheated. They are experiencing more goodness than their nervous system has the capacity to hold. The tragedy of the thermostat is that it doesn't care about the quality of your life. It only cares about the familiarity. It equates known with safe. If misery is what you have always known, your body will fight to keep you miserable, simply because it knows how to survive there. Recognizing this mechanism is the first step in dismantling it. It reframes the issue entirely. You are not broken. You are not destined to fail. You are simply hitting your upper limit. The anxiety you feel when things are going well is not a premonition of doom. It is simply the sensation of your thermostat trying to drag you back down. You are expanding, and your old limits are trying to snap you back into place. There is a moment in every act of self-sabotage where a split occurs. It is the moment you become two people. There is the conscious self, the version of you that reads books, sets goals, and yearns deeply for connection and peace. This self is rational. It knows you deserve love. It knows you are capable of the job. It drafts the business plan and cleans the apartment. It is the architect of your potential. But standing in the shadows is the subconscious self, the keeper of the old identity. This version of you is not interested in your potential. It is interested in your consistency. And if your identity has been forged in the fires of struggle, loneliness, or failure, this shadow self will view your success not as a victory, but as a contradiction. This is where the internal war begins. It is a civil war fought in the quietest chambers of the mind, often without a single shot being fired audibly. Psychologically, this battle is driven by a powerful force known as cognitive dissonance. The human mind detests contradiction. It craves alignment between what we believe about ourselves and what we experience in reality. If there is a gap between your internal reality, I am unlovable, I am a mess, I am destined to struggle, and your external reality, someone loves me, my life is organized, I am succeeding, the brain triggers a state of emergency. To resolve this tension, one of two things must happen. Either your self-image must upgrade to match your new reality, or your reality must be downgraded to match your old self-image. Upgrading your self-image is slow, difficult work. It requires rewriting decades of neural coding. Destroying your reality, however, is fast. It is efficient. And so, the subconscious chooses the path of least resistance. It compels you to destroy the evidence that contradicts your limitation. This is why the imposter syndrome voice speaks loudest, right before a breakthrough. It is not warning you of actual incompetence. It is trying to resolve the dissonance. It whispers, "Who do you think you are?" You might find yourself obsessing over a minor mistake in a presentation that was otherwise perfect. The conscious self sees the 99% success. The subconscious self magnifies the 1% error until it consumes the entire experience. By focusing on the flaw, you validate the old identity. See, I knew I wasn't good enough. The dissonance resolves. You feel worse, but the world makes sense again. This war is particularly brutal because it uses your own intelligence against you. You become a lawyer arguing a case against your own happiness. You find reasons why the partner is wrong for you. You find logic to justify the procrastination. You convince yourself that staying home is self-care when it is actually avoidance. The tragedy of this inner conflict is that you are often fighting to protect an identity that isn't even yours. The voice telling you that you are lazy, difficult, or bad with money is often an echo. It is the voice of a critical parent, a judgmental teacher, or a society that told you to stay in your lane. You have internalized these external judgments until they feel like your own intuition. You defend these limitations as if they were vital organs. When someone compliments you, you deflect it, instinctively shielding your low self-esteem from the threat of praise. When an opportunity arises, you hesitate, waiting for the other shoe to drop, effectively ensuring that it does. This is the great resistance. It is the terrifying realization that the biggest obstacle to your life is not the economy or your boss or your upbringing. It is the outdated agreement you made with yourself about how much goodness you are allowed to handle.